All right. This meeting is officially being live streamed at Red or Green Books, our Facebook page. A couple of awesome things about Facebook. You can share the link to the video today with anyone. They do not need to have a Facebook account to view today's video. It will also get uploaded to our YouTube channel. So please like, share, subscribe, and follow everywhere for Red or Green Books and The Word is Right. Of course, sometimes people are wondering what the difference is. So Red or Green Books is our publishing house. The Word is Right is our performing arts platform. And so they kind of work as sister stations, sister channels together in promoting poetry and poets and activism and all that great, wonderful stuff. All right, today we have for a book club, we have our author talk with the one and only Lilia and her incredible book, Becoming Forever Changing Leaves. It's such a gorgeous book. Like it just, oh my God, it's so awesome. And I got to meet Laura in person this weekend at the New Mexico Poetry Summit this past weekend. It was just lovely. And we had a wonderful time. It was the 3-day summit and Laura stayed extra. So I got to spend extra time with her, which was always fun. So I'm like sad you're not in my kitchen right now.
It was just a couple of days ago.
Seriously, she and her, so it was exciting. But your books are on their way to you, and so they should be here hopefully next week, and you get to open them. And I'm so excited for that. I cannot wait for your books. She did get to see her books while they were here at the summit, but she was flying, and so they're now shipped to her. But it's a very, very exciting in the month of September. If you buy her book on the website, and it's really easy, it's just redorgreenbooks.com, Red, READ. If you go and buy her book, use coupon code LEAVES, LEAVES, LEAVES. Then you'll get $5 off the book, and the proceeds this month go to the author. When she gets her books, she'll sign them and send them to her. Sign them and send them to you. This will be a lot of fun. It's a wonderful way to collect RGB books without having necessarily to pay full price. A couple other quick announcements. Next month, we will have Zachary Sakati. He's an Albuquerque poet. He'll be here in October for book club. So you'll get to hear from him and his book titled Eves, a collection. And then every month, we got something. So go to the website, Facebook, Instagram, and you can catch everyone who's coming up. We do currently have a call for submissions for American Graveyard Calls to End Gun Violence Volume 2. And I'm seriously considering calling it, what did I write down yesterday? Kevlar and Gold. So we'll see. We may add a subtitle to that, but it is our collective unifying call for an end to gun violence. You can also submit black and white artwork, 300 DPI required. For those as well. And you can submit to American Graveyard Program at gmail.com. That is the email that is assigned for that anthology. All right, let's get into it today. Welcome, Lilia in the house. All right, so the format today, for those who are not in the room before we went live, today, Laura is going to talk about her wonderful book. She's going to talk about the inspiration behind the book, which you can experience when you pick it up and you read it. The messages that she intended throughout the book. The book is also, it includes this incredible artwork that she did. So I hope she's going to talk a little bit about the artwork. And she also has these wonderful SoundCloud QR codes in her book. So if you want to hear her reading the poems as well, you can catch that through this book. A whole lot of things that you're getting in this book. And then we'll go into her featured set of 30 minutes, more or less. And then we'll come back with a Q&A portion. So if you're in the Zoom room and you want to ask her a question, you can either raise your virtual hand or you can type a question in the chat. And of course, she is welcome to not answer anything. She does not ever have to answer anything, but we can ask and see if that's something that she would like to answer for you all. That's fine. And then that's it. And then we'll be gone and done for the day. And you can go buy her book online and use coupon code LEAVES and get her book for $10. Like, it's just crazy to me not to pick up this book. It's a sensational book. So, Laura, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you came to write this book, and everything that folks can experience when they pick it up and read it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Marissa. Your energy is contagious because, like I said, I'm barely feeling like I'm settling back into Texas and I'm still like having these flashbacks of honestly my drive out to Roswell. Like, I'm like, I was out there, man. Like, I was like this eerie feeling, but very beautiful. And so yeah, definitely Shannon, Stacey, thanks for coming in. And so yeah, with this book, it's I do want to correct a couple of things because I know with the QR codes, I did start off with my SoundCloud, but then I felt very hesitant on the reality of how long will SoundCloud be around. So I decided to switch them last minute to YouTube. So now the QR
That's right.
code,
You're right. Thank
yeah,
you for
that's why it was
correcting that. Yes, they're YouTube QR codes.
at
Yes,
the
that's
last
right.
minute. I'm all like, no, something's giving me this inkling to change it because it's the platforms unpredictable, changes happen. It's okay, but YouTube is more secure, and I would feel like they're going to be a little bit longer than SoundCloud. I don't know. But anyways, it goes to YouTube. It has all of those. SoundCloud is still there because it has other additional recordings. And these recordings are very dear to me. I actually felt a little bit more excited about putting my book together when I decided to include these voice memos that were recorded because they're improv, they're in the moment, inspired talks that some turn into poetry, some kind of stick around to like a conscious stream of observations of myself and what I see in this world. And I was doing these recordings while I was doing delivery drivings for Favor out here in Texas, which is a very popular delivery service, mostly only out in Texas. I think they started a little bit in Cali, but I'm not quite remembering. But anyways, you go all around the state of Texas and just do deliveries. And I did that. I drove out to Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, and all in between. So it was really profound to me. It was a very, it was a moment I really needed for myself to gather myself. And this was all becoming in my process of healing from a suicide attempt that it shook me, shook everybody around me. It was unexpected. I mean, so honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like this was all boiling to happen. I got this beautiful experience out of something very traumatic. And at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful that I'm choosing this perspective and choosing what has become afterwards from something I never intended, but at the same time, it felt so destined because honestly, I have a lot of admiration to a lot of people who actually did pass away because of suicide, like Janis Joplin, well, OCD, like overdose and stuff like that. I'm a big influence of the 70s rock, so that gives a big perspective of my likings and what influences me as a writer. And so yeah, with these poems, most of the poems are all new from 2018 and up to now. And the artwork was definitely something that came about just me doodling around while I was in and out of the hospital with Crohn's disease when I was 15. I got diagnosed and it really took over my life rapidly. And that was another hurdle at a very young age to overcome that. And drawing was inspiring for me. And it was just, storytelling and journaling really got me through a lot of being in my body, but yet not being fully in my body because of all the trauma that I was experiencing so rapidly. Um, Artwork really gave me that outlet to be calm, be understanding of, okay, I'm going through this, and really be more of a clear channel to the process, the journey, the reality of what I was experiencing and how I was soaking it up. I think that was a big influence for me with my spiritual beliefs and finding my reasoning to accept change because I had to. It's so easy to say, well, I had no other choice, but at the end of the day, we all have choices. And I think the biggest blessings for me was really tuning into my perspective of why I was choosing how I was going to handle what I was going through. So, on that said, I have uh, three chapters in the book, which, my God, last Saturday when I held it in my hands for the first time, I was like, this is heavy. Like, this is a lot of pages. And I loved what another poet overheard me was like, heavy from the mindset, like that hits hard. I was like, because we as poets we all have that inkling of having a deeper understanding of our observations, and I think that's very beautiful that we have that courage to speak about it. And this book has been my journey to find my voice and find how I want to tell my story. And I think that was very empowering for me this past year, just working on this. It was a lot of empowerment and a lot of depression, and it was just a back and forth swing of just making it happen. And Marissa, you've been a exemplary and such an inspiring motivation of saying, what, we've met back in 2021. You had no idea about me really, but I would just show up at these guerrilla or other YouTube platforms, and it felt so really well to be seen and be accepted, being seen as I am and how everybody else was. So I think that was a beautiful community, and seeing it in person just makes me realize it's happening. This is real life. This is what we've been able to manifest, and I can't wait to see where else it goes. So enough of that. To say about my book, I liked how I was separated into three chapters, and I consider them little interludes at the beginning. It's not really a poem itself, but more like a thought process of how I started that chapter and how I selected each poem to be a part of that chapter. So yeah, we'll get right into it to start off with one.
Let me
And
go ahead and read a review. Let me read some of the reviews from your book real quick
yeah,
before you start reading, because I got to introduce it, right? Like, we got to
yeah,
read the reviews. I mean, again, if you want to read Laura's bio, you want links to her social media, you want to read reviews on the book, it's all on the website, redorgreenbooks.com. Red, READ. You can read the reviews. And I will go ahead and say, like, this is a classic example of meeting, pandemic poets, or even, slightly post-pandemic poets. We're all online, and I was just blown away when I heard Laura read, and I'm like, you should have a book. Sometimes people laugh at me when I say that, right? Because sometimes it seems like such an unattainable dream, or enough people tell you you can't do it, where the opportunity to publish is very sparse. The opportunity for women to publish, the opportunity for women of color to publish is even less, right? And so for me, when someone moves me the way Laura moved me, I'm like, we should absolutely, or you should publish your book. If you don't publish it here, you should publish it somewhere. I tell people that all the time. You don't have to publish here, but go publish somewhere. And we stayed in touch, and she emailed me, and I was like, yes, let's go. And I'm so blessed. Like, there's no doubt that people come to this press for a reason, and that people come into our lives for a reason. Because when I met Laura, it was like kindred spirits, right? And then when I saw you in person, it was like, oh my gosh, let's go. Like, I knew you my whole life. I was just reuniting with you. And we were all really strangers, 2 to 4 years ago. Many of us didn't know each other, but now we're all in this journey for life. And we're teetering on close to publishing 800,000 words now. And you're part of that journey, right? We're pushing to publish. Our goal is to publish 1 million words next year. And you are definitely part of that movement now. And so thank you for being part of what we're doing. And I'm hoping Shannon's gonna be part of what we're doing. Like, I'm so excited, right? I can't wait for all these poets to come here, and begin to see their life, their legacy, right? All right. So there's a wonderful review on the back of your book by, of course, the one and only Stacey Dyson, who's in the room. She's the leader of Tesoro, which all of us in the room here are part of this worldwide women's organization of writers, poets, performers, artists, professionals, publishers, and she started that. You can learn more about Tesoro at firesingers.com. All right. Laura is neither asking you to feel her pain or guilty or feel guilty about it. She's just telling her story. Maybe you've experienced what she's feeling. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. No martyr here. Just a woman asking questions and bidding you pay attention to the answers. Becoming Forever Changing Leaves is not a comfortable read, but it is necessary. The world isn't always fair. Life isn't always pleasant, and the search for solutions never stops. But we have to acknowledge existence in all its seasons. Because if we don't, never mind our bodies, our souls can never recover. And that is Stacy's abbreviated review. You can catch the full review on our website. You can probably also catch it out on Laura's platform as well. I'm going to go ahead and ask folks to unmute as we welcome up our author talk feature for the month of September 2024, the one and only Laura Lila.
Yay! Hey, thank you. Thank you. And so yeah, starting off with chapter 1, I titled it "Stay Organized in Your Chaos." It goes starting off with, while in the middle of all of it, somehow after fidgeting and squirming in pain, I found out if I give myself enough time to sink into my skin while listening for the silence around me and accept and just being, I soon got to notice it takes a lot of work with what seems like doing nothing at all. And that inspiration, I really went into the chapter 1 being more of like the depths of what I was really tapping into. With sitting alone, I mean, with chronic illness, I found myself spending a lot of time alone. And it was by choice, by not by choice, and it was, I mean, that just, you can't ignore that time. And sometimes, yeah, you're mostly numbing it or, distracting yourself. But at the same time, there's a lot of time that's given. And I think that for a very long time, it made me so sad because everybody else is out living their lives, XYZ, but I had this profound depth and I had nothing but time to just sit with it. So this next piece is called Spiral, and this is one of my favorite ones in that first chapter. There's a trap door under the floor, a ceiling that cracked a while back, and a chair that has only 3 legs. I've learned how to sit in that chair with my depression. I decided to make it challenging to sit uncomfortable on purpose because I've learned that it's in between my comforts and our own current reality that will be the death of me. While sitting on that chair, I look for what hasn't been settled within me. What rock should I have left unturned? I sit in review of my life's greatest threatening moments I've endured and secretly crave to be put under anesthesia one more time. That hum of reality fading away as I count down from 10. It's always over before I know it. But right now, what I've reflected while in that chair confirms that time is a haunting illusion. A mistake we all make is that we think we have time, and yet I choose to sit, taking my time, disassembling my turmoils until I could reassemble them all with a lighter hue painted over every single one of them. It's really like sitting down in darkness and waiting for something to pop out and frighten you. As it's always possible for anything to happen in the dark, since our eyes don't see what lurks so closely, it gives the unthinkable the adrenaline to be invincible. And after a while noticing I've had enough time in it, the fear dissipates. I see the pores in my skin clearer, the tremble of anger and sadness fading as I focus on my breath, understanding that the feeling I have right now of the rise and fall within me, I realize this is what I know as it is real. That somehow everything is beating and flowing to keep me alive at this moment. And then I finally give in. I fall in love with my solitude filled with madness. And I see clearly that to heal from this, I must lose my mind in order to find my soul. That one actually is part of a series of 5 poems that develops that I recorded actually, and it is on SoundCloud. But yeah, I titled them all into the depths of something, of what I tapped into, until the lighter hues of how I'm actually carrying what I've experienced, and how do I live it? How am I processing it now and showing up with it? Because I feel like there's moments of us that will never leave us, but we get to choose what we do with it every given moment. And I think that was a big aha moment of free will, what understanding that, and really putting myself in positions of anybody I meet, I will never fully understand or fully know. I like that saying that no matter how much you think you know someone, you really don't know them. And I know I was that person amongst my circle in my 20s. No one really knew me. No one really knew the depths of what I was dealing with. And that moment of understanding, if I'm capable of doing that, they must be capable of doing that or more, of hiding themselves. And I think that really brought me a level of understanding that brings me to present myself and open myself up to people that I'm barely meeting. Like, I don't know anything about them, but let's see where this conversation goes, and see how it unravels, and accept it as it is. And I think that was very hard for me. A very crucial part of me was to let go of expectations and ideas of people, and just flowing. I think that was a big lesson for me, with everything I've been through, and with poetry, just made it more clear of what I'm trying to learn. So I really give it to journaling. It really helps. My second favorite one that I like is called I Kept Driving. I drove around Texas on an empty gas tank, a mind stretched out with thick clouds, and a prayer to keep me going to get to my next destination that wasn't waiting for me. I spent days by myself on the road, didn't keep up to call home, didn't even bother to strike up small talk with strangers. I only focused on finding a decent place to sit outside with endless views of Texas stars. I found comfort in my curiosity to where a road may lead me to, I found myself less afraid of what I might stumble into and found myself more worried about those who stumbled into me. Most days, I went without eating. I drank up on lemon and mint water, snacked up on mixed nuts, fresh fruits, and smoked packs of Swisher Sweet cigarillos to keep awake, or while other times smoked spliffs to keep me going, pushing through depths of pain, numbing away, driving inward to the dreamily endless wooden gates that guarded fields close to side roads. I felt it all during those drives. All the rage, confusing anger, unspoken sadness, all that tied up knots of heartbreak, leading me to an acceptance I would never find in a safely lit room. No, all of this had to be found on the sides of strange roads, alone in the middle of dark nights only Texas can handle. When I eventually did make it back home, I always felt even more far gone than before until I embraced a friendly face, and then I would realize, oh, I did survive it all. I didn't die out on those roads. My next one's called Refracting. I look at my hands when my mind drifts off from the here and now. When my mind wants to wander about the what ifs in life or the I wish that comes pouring in with the thoughts of my past. I look to my hands, I see how they are changing. All I have handled while I feel everything I have been through in this lifetime thus far. They are the same hands since day one. No matter how many times I lifted heavy lessons, my hands remain intact. I sit with my hands and ponder, what else can I do today? I breathe out to stay focused on my now, my one and only true moment I have in being immortally mortal. I really like this one. This one's titled Judge. I caught myself doing that thing I do again. I stumbled into doing something, moving without intention, knowing I have an idea, but honestly, I'm not seeing it come out like I desire it to be. Maybe I'll stumble enough in the right direction and somehow I get lucky with some guidance. But me, no, no, no. I have no clue what I'm doing. All I know is that I hope I look pretty enough for him to see me doing it. And maybe I get the validation I crave so much. Because me, no. The judge in me will never lighten up and compliment me. There is no end to the criticism once opening up those thoughts have learned how to recycle past judgments and polish them all up as new ones. So after the beatings I've taken that caused internal bleedings, all while racing thoughts have cycled over and over again, I finally gave in to my inner judge. Sure, run my name through dirt, as I am no longer human. I am a seed. And I've learned a seed has to totally destroy itself in order to become a flower. For my second chapter, I did go into a little interlude, and chapter 2 is titled off, The Love I Accepted to Receive. You've managed to have a hold over me that I don't think you understand how much of a big deal it is. I may forget what you said, I may forget what you did, but I will never forget how you made me feel. And this one's also in chapter 2. From here, this one's titled Flip of a Coin. I'm waiting to see the Bible to be rewritten. I start on it already, but I've never really read the whole thing. I've heard some people read the Bible from front to back over and over, while others just flip to a page when in need of guidance. What about rewriting any United States written constitution? And I mean any at this point. Sometimes, intrusively, almost every time, I wonder if random things come about, such as, are any smokers considering to stop smoking since the pandemic is a hit to the lungs? Could we ever find comfort in unorganized spaces? How is it that we are quick to look away from each other's eyes while it's all that we are exposing these days? I guess direct glances are equivalent to a nail digging through the arch of a foot. Oh, the pain of being seen. I felt that drilling pain come up from my left foot, throbbing from a gash, rising with a seizure, all the way up to my heart, rushing to my mouth as I trembled and counted up to 100 until the injection of medicine kicked in to numb it all away. An acquaintance I know so well, I now mournfully admire. I am the throb you've been avoiding. This was titled Intuition, and it got inspired because I was living in Midtown in Houston. And anything in Midtown near downtown, it's hectic. All you need to know is the daily news. It's pretty much true, right? I mean, the effort is there, but their intense care might not be a true care, and it was probably never there. I'm not sure anymore. I'm lost looking at this world through what they're trying to sell. So, could you just pass me my Zippendale? Look, I know. All it takes is a little organization, color coordination, but seems like we all do things just to impress someone we really don't even know. So, what are we really out here doing? Well, let's see, the bee flew in from the front door following behind me. Then that sharp inhale you took as you walked in afterwards was enough to make me think differently of you, in the same way as a large gulp of cold water strikes my recently crowned root canal. Ouch. Yes, anger is a potent spice. A pinch will wake you up, to too much will dull your senses. We are each other's worst enemies to those who ever felt victimized by our actions or our words. But as Didier did say, no man has received from nature the right to command his fellow human beings. My next one is titled Open Window. I woke up past noon and pissed off. I decided to try to journal out what was upsetting me, but I ended up pushing down my pen into my notebook paper until the tip of my pen bent in and ink ran everywhere. I stopped and cried until I got tired of crying and drifted back into a sleep. I felt a rage similar to this before, a rage that didn't let me sit still. So I jumped into my car, drove into until I hit a long road that turns into a highway that leads into a dirt road with no end. Another time, an early memory I have of myself young and sitting alone in my childhood living room couch, I saw the breeze coming in from the open window across the room and followed it until it touched my skin with its heat. As the curtains fluttered without control, A calmness flushed over me, feeling a comfort and eerie stillness, as if I knew I was not alone anymore, as if my ancestors came in with the breeze, and with all of my innocence, this comforted, heated breeze confirmed to me I was not alone. I will never be alone. I remember feeling the pounding in my hands and looking to them to see clear that the blood that pumps within me carries a rage that has been passed on for God only knows how long, and it will never leave me. This one's also titled, this one's also in chapter 2. It's titled On a Blue Moon. It's not to ask of you anything you'd question. It's simply just admiring you picking up where I left off. You'd ask for a ride, and to your surprise, I say, send me the address and let me know when you're ready. No hesitation, no third degree. That's the love I had for you. I was always available, out of the blue, hold in there. Next one's called You Taught Me. Love yourself as you are. You could stop listening to the programming that you grew up with while you were watching your parents form and become entangled with. Love yourself as you are. Those plastic surgeries don't age well, and one plastic surgery will never be enough. Love yourself as you are. Let go of the labels, lifetime lines, and shades of colors. We are more alike than different from each other. Love yourself as you are. The suffering you went through will make you stronger and only allow you to grow compassion towards others who are suffering too. Love yourself as you are, as the time you felt the loneliest is the time you need to be by yourself the most. That one, when I wrote that one, I dedicated it in my head to my meditation teacher. And then as I keep reading it and reading it, it's like, oh, I would have not met my meditation teacher if I didn't meet my ex first. So it's like, oh, well, he taught me. So it's just one of those things. Oh. This one's titled A Said. A said cheers to the writer's block because without facing this challenge, I would never know my own strength to figure out how to start again. A said salute to depression because once I've accepted that I have tapped into those depths, it'll never leave me from my core. A sad honorable mention to crippling anxiety that casts over the body, leaving the mind running pedal to the metal until I've managed to regain the first conscious breath that brings me back to myself and finding out I have yet some control after all. A sad praise to paranoia that doesn't shy away from setting off like Icarus, bound to burn in delusion until I find that one comfort that makes everything quiet down and realize that everything is okay right now. A sad tribute to the want to give up because I trembled from my knees only to find my toes giving another push to fight through it all and keep moving forward while still in pain. A sad round of applause to self-love being the most important action to cherish, yet is found the most difficult to master. For my third interlude, like my third chapter, this little brief paragraph, I actually really love this paragraph. I think it should be a poem, but it stays there. I like it. The read is titled, One is Not the Loneliest Number. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. Sure. Let's even say I met the devil himself. I smiled to him and even laughed at his plans until I got caught dangling upside down from his tight grip around my left ankle. At that moment, I found out even he is looking for compassion. So I cried out to God, okay, I'm done here. You can take me away now. I'll keep my eyes closed until you do. Neither of them came for me. I spent enough time submerged in the awareness of both. While spending all that time in it, my vision focused in a profoundly and invasive way as I saw past the veil. Then at that point, I had a choice to make. Do I continue to sit in this internal monologue, or do I dare to go out into the world and speak up about this experience? And this piece is in chapter 3, titled Stoic Times. Appearing to me, I've been muted by moments in my past that I didn't fully understand. Stacking one on top of another, tensed up so impassive, I've forgotten how to breathe yet again. I catch my rhythm with my lungs, only to collapse on my knees once I came to understand. It wasn't what was not understood by the moment in the past. It was what I had left unsaid during those moments that haunt me now. And it was never to be, never to be anything less than me. Reevaluate, please. The storm will pass, the cut down tree will grow somehow, and the sun is endlessly rising and falling across the world. So, your fortitude, you must stay steady in your fortitude, and surprisingly, on the days that seem the hardest. You are a blessing all on your own. For that reason, know all good things take time. Just just the same, take note of the extraordinary top 4 atoms listed below: hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen. As they are all found within me, within you, and are the same found within this universe, all roaming around simultaneously, meditatively as a prayer. In my view, the coloring of the drawings that run off the pages run off to find stillness from the constructive madness, and soon enough, finding answers in unknown spaces by leading an encouraging ear, inspiring to move forward after the gold settles in the Kingsui. This one's by, like, inspired by COVID, 6 feet apart. I don't mind a slow dance with you, but first give me a minute. 60 seconds on the clock to stand here 6 feet apart from you, look me in the eyes with lips still in silence for 1 minute. 60 seconds on the clock, then we go from there. And this one I like. This one's also in chapter 3, How I Stand as a Warrior. Step on the icy floor as I am. Stand firm with all that has cut through me and around me. Those moments of pain I remember that caused such flare and agony. I've breathed through it before with great worry to great relief. I watched my body become resilient time and time again. I can be taken down, but it is short lived, since I evolve into a new apparatus every time I picked myself up. It's patience I finally immersed myself into. The same patience I heard from my eighth grade English teacher as he would randomly shout out, "Patience is a virtue," over and over again. It's also the fact that I'm able to see things repeat enough to know everything is temporary. And this is going to be my last one. And this is actually my last poem that's in the book. And every time I read it, everybody loves it. And I love it too. Pine cones. Like a field of pine cones on a fall day, I'd walk barefoot knowing this is just another cycle. All changing cycles. The never ending ends of beginnings. I'd walk barefoot across it all. I'd walk between the trees that hear the wisdom within the air. While the weather so confidently changes so unpredictably, I've learned to listen with changing ears. I see clearly, and I see clarity now. It pours out like a river from my eyes, and I finally unlatched locks within my heart that I've carried for what seems like forever. It all comes apart as I step farther into this endless field of pine cones. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't change any of my steps. Even if I have to walk all the way back, I wouldn't change a thing. That's all I got.
Oh, let's go. Let me remove the spotlight. I'll invite everyone to unmute their mics and cheer on for that incredible feature.
Woo! That was awesome.
Oh my goodness. Let's go. I love listening to your work. I mean, I've always been a big fan, and there's so many takeaway lines in your set today. So it's not hard to, you don't have to search very far for inspiration when you're listening to Lauda read. And now, we talked about those who perhaps missed the introduction today. Lauda has these wonderful YouTube QR codes, and I appreciate you telling me, because it's true. They were SoundCloud QR codes, but they're YouTube QR codes. So you can go and hear her, and really the unadulterated mind of a poet, right? The way that she was thinking when she was creating this book and these poems, and her book has this really wonderful artwork in it as well. So not only are you getting a literary book of poetry, you also have links to the Audible. You have some of her artwork in here as well. Like, it's such a sensational book to be able to get. Don't forget the month of September. Every month for our book club, you can get a $5 coupon for the book. You do not need to purchase the books to become part of the audience for Author Talk. You do not need to purchase the book to include your questions today, but we do highly encourage you to do that, because the authors get their proceeds from the sale of their book during the month that they're doing Author Talk. And this month, if you use coupon code LEAVES, LEAVES, on the Red or Green Books website, her books are getting shipped to her. They'll be there next week, and she can sign them and send them to you. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get this book and everything that is included in it for only $10 plus shipping and handling. So please do that. Support the arts, support the poets. So this is our Q&A portion of the show. You're welcome to ask any questions you like. You don't have to participate either. If you want to raise your virtual hand, you can raise your virtual hand, or you can put questions in the chat. But remember, we have told Laura that she does not have to answer questions, that she doesn't want to answer, and that's okay. But you can read more about her and her book online as well. If you are joining us a little bit late today, we're so glad that you're here. So some questions that I love to ask. What was your the most fun part of putting together this book?
Most fun. I think it was the QR codes. It was definitely understanding that, oh, you're not gonna just read me, you're gonna hear me. And I've always gotten this tone of like, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel me cry. Because that's pretty much it's I want to say, oh, it's just a bunch of me crying and stuff, but no, it's really in-depth observations as I drove around safely. I didn't get into any accidents because I was also delivering people's, orders, and just, okay, here you go.
And there's something so
It was
profound when
insane.
you have the author, signing your book for you, and it's a moment in time where time just stops and it becomes this incredible um, frozen moment where the author is just talking to you on the page. It's so
Yeah.
special.
So it's an experience. I really like that idea. I mean, everything's an experience, but we're so visual and, sound, like we're really, we want it quick now these days. So I really like that idea of, I think that's what made it more exciting, where I was like, oh my God, I get to do anything and I want to put them in there.
And the debut poets program here is so much different than you would get anywhere else at any publishing house, because sometimes it'll take years and years for your book to get out, and we start to finish do it in about 6 months. Like
You
so
was a
start to finish, we done, we get go, and you launch together as a group, right? So we steamroll through all of that nonsense, and you get your book. Like, no one wants it sitting on their desk for years and years, because you have the next book to work on.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. Angel Kim wrote in the chat, she said, what was your process in picking your pieces to go into this particular book?
That's a good one, because I remember when in 2019 I already had an idea of, I wanted to be 3 books separately, but to put them all in 3 chapters definitely had to take off a lot of fat, a lot of like repetition, a lot of feeling like that kind of goes with that. So definitely picking the titles for my book helped me a lot to focus in on the theme and what poems are going to be selected. So that really helped me out, being excited about those chapters and what are we really tackling and what are we really trying to express here. And that really made me focus in on that.
And everyone who comes to publish here, they have a one-on-one coaching session with me, sometimes more than one. And we were talking a little bit about, how to assemble your book and how to do exactly that. You're trimming the fluff, you're really sharpening it and polishing it, so that, as spoken word artists, we say things a certain way. When you transfer it to the page, it's a little different, right? Yeah. So page poetry and spoken word, and then I would even go and say slam, like they're all very, very different. And how you take a spoken word piece and you put it to the page to where you can control the reader, where they go, how fast they go, when they stop and start, and how they really have to try to, look at something and let it sink in. Is an art form in and of itself to be able to do on the page. And Laura's book is sensational. You get the same sort of pull on the page that you do when you hear her in person read. It sticks. It's, yeah, you're gonna feel all the twisties, right? I love Simone Biles. We're gonna start to say the twisties in poetry. You're gonna feel the twisties in poetry the way gymnasts will feel them in the air. It's a very exciting thing to be able to do that. So thank you. I hope, Angel, that helped answer your question. And then let me scroll down here. Shannon asks, how did you choose the title?
Oh yes, that was fun. I would go back and forth, but Honestly, I started choosing these titles since 2019. I already had the idea, it was already there. I feel like I've read the first one definitely like in an internal, it's more like a reflective piece of my own chaos, my own insanity of everything that I have to, and how can I stay organized and keep moving forward? That was my process for that one. And then the second chapter, love, that's the theme, the love I accepted to receive. That just broke my heart when it came to my mind. I was like, oh my God, I accepted to receive this crap. Like this is I signed up for this somehow. So that was that part. And then obviously the last one, I definitely want to leave it on a bit of a higher note, of a hopeful note of the reality of the last chapter was the one that I kept switching up. One is not the loneliest number. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's that song, there's just everybody, everybody's so scared of being alone and all that. And I'm like, no, one is powerful. Like when you know thyself, you have a potential of being infinite and being around so many people and and be adaptable. So that's what I got out of my solitude and understanding that I was very sad for a very long time because I was single and I was going through a lot. I had to do a lot of things on my own, but now I love it. Now I'm like, oh, I'll drive somewhere alone. I'll go to the movies alone. I'll eat alone, and I like that. Like I like that. Like I like my personal space. But then obviously integrating around people is also very beautiful too.
And I think like the concept for the title for the book, becoming forever changing leaves,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of the concept of the monotony of change.
Yes.
Like you can always count on change, right? And when you think of leaves being um, the life cycle of a leaf, right?
Yeah.
It's very much so how the ebb and flow and the change of our lives goes without much changing at all, right? And so it is a little bit of an oxymoron in the sense of that this is something that we count on consistently every year. The leaves are always blooming and growing and dying and falling, and the weather is constantly in this rotation, so it's constantly changing, but really nothing ever really changes because it's always doing the same thing over and over again. And so it's kind of that internal battle of the same thing over and over again, but the fact that everything's always changing, you can count on change. So it is a fun, I think, play on words conceptually. It deals with a lot of those things. Strife is part of being a human being, so we can count on strife. And personally, I think if you're expecting shit to go down and the sky to fall, then when it does, you're like, haha, I knew it was coming. And so you're more prepared, right? If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready for change, and change is always happening. So I hope that answers your question, Shannon. Terry Rose Jerson asks, who or what are your biggest influences?
Oh, Terry. Well, yeah, definitely. Janis Joplin. Ever since I heard Summertime, my brother introduced me to her, and she's a native Texan, and her whole story was profound, and how she would get up on stage and just leave everything on stage. I mean, I've had friends that their mothers went to see her live, and they tell me about the stories, and I'm all like, yes, that's what I would feel too if I was there. But yeah, Janis Joplin's a big one. Obviously, Vincent Van Gogh is a big one for me too. Uh, Bukowski, Charles Bukowski, even though he's a angry man, I love that guy. There's also this Francisco Picosa. He's a poet from the 1800s, and he didn't publish, but his work was found in a chest cupboard, and they put it together, they translated it, and it's a book, and it's like just his daily thought process, journaling, just little poems here and there, and he's also kind of gives off like that Charles Bukowski vibe, but from like the 1800s, and he's French. Yeah.
I love it. Like, and this is so cool. This is why it's so much fun when people ask questions, because there are things that sometimes are not brought up in book club that you get to learn from different authors, which is so exciting. I have two more questions for you. The first one is, what was the hardest or most challenging thing for you on this launch?
Oh gosh, the expectations of everybody else's reaction. I think that was a big one because I mean, in my culture, and I think everybody's culture, we all have that stigma of don't talk about suicide, you don't talk about depression, you don't talk about the things that are unwelcoming and hard to talk about. And, you know, I love and I cherish my family so much, but at the same time, this is an experience that I went through. I'm sorry that I put them through it, but at the end of the day, I went through this whole acceptance of it was inevitable. And there's parts of my family that still don't really comprehend the the big reasoning of all of this, but I feel like I understood that I can't express it anymore. I just have to live it now. Like I have to just keep doing what I'm capable of doing now and not let that define me. So the expectations was a really hard hurdle for me, honestly.
You and I have very parallel lives in that regard. It's very true, right? In my honest poem, I say, I am where generational trauma goes to die.
Mm-hmm.
Because so much we have to talk about this and speak about it, and getting no validation from the people who birthed me or who were supposed to be wanting me to live and survive is very difficult, is a daunting thing. And so now, me being a mom, raising daughters, I hold space for that mental health and mental healing. And when there needs to be interventions, and acknowledging the struggle is real. And so I like honor you, Laura, and I love you and support you. And I think that like you are one of the most courageous women I've ever met. And you inspire me, to make it okay to do this kind of work. And sorry, it's like I'm all emotional to me, but yeah, I had a lot of stuff like personally with my daughters too. And, knowing how it feels like to not have that from my mom, I want to change that for my kids. And so you doing what you're doing is empowering others to be able to not only voice how they're feeling, but to hold space for their friends who perhaps are feeling that way as well. And a lot of people don't know how to react. They don't know the right things to say or do. They don't know where to start in the conversation of it. And so many of these books, but particularly yours, is a wonderful place to begin conversations about healing and mental health, and recognizing your journey and your history. And I'm so proud of you, like in the most profoundly wonderful way, for doing this book.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
and the last question is, what is your biggest takeaway, or what's your biggest like life lesson that you would pass on your knowledge to the next poets that are going to come through our door?
Yes. Oh man, first of all, learn how to not get in your way. Yeah. First of all, don't learn how to, because it's gonna be different for everybody. And that's a big one for me. The second one was enjoy what you're doing, whatever it is. If you want to be a writer, if you want to be a poet, if you want to do a paint, draw, sketch, anything, it's never like anything could be art. And if you like it like that, then do that. Don't judge your art. I think that's, yeah, judging is horrible. We're the worst critics. um and I guess my last one will be just be very curious about who you are, you know, be curious about it. And when you really get out of your own way, you really give yourself that opportunity to expand and show your light, where you even freak out like, oh shit, I did that. Like, I catch myself all the time now. I'm like, oh wait, I did that. Like, yeah, we're good.
Exactly right. And I love that. Be curious about who you are.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you were not allowed to be curious as a child,
Yeah.
or you were not encouraged to think outside the box. And I think a lot of that can also go be paired really well with like, don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And the debut poets, like when they come here, they don't have to do it by themselves, right? And
Mhm.
I mean, so you have me, but you also have the whole team of people in your launch. And so it's okay to be afraid. I guarantee you, every single person who published a book was scared, who came through these doors, because it's scary to publish a book, right? But you don't have to do it by yourself. And so being curious about yourself, like how much can I do? What will this look like? Because it is a mystery at the beginning,
Yeah.
right? It's
It
like
is.
such a mystery. And then you have, at the end of it, you have this incredible book of this body of work, if you will, with these incredible reviews and what people are saying as they're experiencing your work. Like it's profound. So I love that. Be curious about yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fail. The rest of you who are watching and perhaps listening, even watching this back at another date, don't be afraid to fail. Every story matters, and you should get your book out there.
Yeah, because just starting with you, honestly, I started collecting my pieces in 2019. So seeing this fruition, seeing how much, about 4 years could change your life, and understand that it's not just to change your life, but the impact you're making. I'm very big for solitude, but at the same time, when I'm not in my solitude, I see life is really beautiful, and I'm able to surrender to understand that yes, it's not easy sometimes. Life gets hard, and the worst thing that you could ever do is isolate yourself because of the fear of being hurt again. And I think that's something that really came out of me this year, even though I had to cancel a lot of life events because I'm like, oh, I gotta stay home and work on my book. I gotta
Well,
put
and now it's, look at, like, if you look at it in retrospect, right? I mean,
yeah.
this is why we get it off your desk early. Can you imagine having this on your desk for a couple more years? Like, no. But this is something that like no one can ever take away from you. I tell all of my authors this. When you have your work in print, this is something nobody can ever take away from you. It is an incredible power to have your story in print, or digitally online, but to have your story out there, is so even if something were to happen to you, your story would live on. And this is the current of our company is legacy work.
Mhm.
And it's just a profoundly empowering thing when you can give poets a place for their stories. And I certainly think yours is going to live on. I'm so excited. Don't forget, Pushcart Prize nominations are right around the corner. So if you want to send me up to 3 poems that you want me to pick to potentially nominate for a Pushcart, I'm happy to do that. We're so excited. We love nominating books for prizes here. And your book has more than one that should be nominated. But yeah, I would. All right. So does anyone else have any questions? Anything else for Laura before I let her plug herself one more time? Don't forget, go to redorgreenbooks.com, get her book, Becoming Forever Changing Leaves, from our shop. You can use coupon code LEAVES, and they'll get you $5 off of her book this month. Her books are on their way to her. She'll sign it and send it to you. It's going to be amazing. Otherwise, Laura, one more time, go ahead and plug where people can find you, follow you, get your book, all of that wonderful stuff.
Yeah, you could find me on the social medias as Laura Lila, just spelled out. That's Instagram, that's Facebook, that's yeah. My SoundCloud is also under Laura Lila, and I have also I'm on Substack as Laura Lila. I'm being a little bit more active there. And yeah, if you want to purchase as well, you could get it. Just hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. I do have an Etsy shop that I will be selling it there too, but I will incorporate a little bit more little knickknacks and things about changing leaves there too. So I'm really excited how this coming year is going to expand on that part. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm so grateful for all the other poets that I was able to meet through the festival and through this process. because that's the thing. It's like, oh, I since the beginning, I like the idea of doing it as a community because we're all doing something different but similar, and to be able to embrace and vibe off of that creativity, just bounce. I like that.
It's so true. And it was like when you came here for the New Mexico Poetry Summit, you, Shannon, Terry Rose, Mazzini, stay, everyone was, here last weekend. And it was really just kind of like meeting up with a bunch of old friends. It wasn't, people don't understand until they meet people in person. It really is just like kind of going to a place where you just are reuniting with everyone. Whereas, most of us were meeting for the first time in person. So now when we all meet again, it'll be more like a reunion. But so we're planning next year to have it in Baltimore, and then we'll be back in 2026 in New Mexico, but we're going to be in southern New Mexico is the plan. And we're going to be doing border poets doing a reading at the border, so with Mexico. So if you've never been to New Mexico or you've never traveled to the border, this is a wonderful chance for poets to come and really experience the border poets and the border poetry and the initiative around that entire concept that art is trying to bring, continue to keep in the light and keep the conversations around border issues current, and discussing the ramifications and effects of the border. And who knows where we're going to be, in 2 years as a country, but I definitely believe no matter where we are in 2 years, we're still going to need to talk about this. And so we're going to set it up now to be back at the border in 2026 here in New Mexico. All right. That being said, please like, share, subscribe, and follow everywhere. This video is currently on the Facebook channel for Red or Green Books, but we will upload it to our YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe, and follow to the YouTube channel, please, so that you can get access to not only the book club videos, but all of these shows that we do and features that we do at Red or Green Books. There's a lot of things coming up, and I will be posting the Friday night open mic on the YouTube channel. So if people want to come and watch the whole Friday night open mic that we did at the New Mexico Poetry Summit, it's such an awesome video. It's a long video, but it's going to be wonderful. So that'll get posted to the YouTube channel, so you can catch that there as well. But thank you so much, Laura Lila. Y'all go to the website, get a copy of her book, Becoming Forever Changing Leaves. You will not be sorry. Follow Tesoro at firesingers.com. Thank you all so very much for being here today. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you all next time, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Bye, everyone.
Bye.